But let's start. So the first speaker of the day is Maria from Estonia, who works in Canut, and she's talking about her innovation conservation work.
Good morning, everybody. Wow. Today I am excited to share with you some curious information about the restoration process that took place 3 years ago in Tallinn. This is Kuriste Church, the church of the birth of Our Lady. It is situated on the big Estonian island called Hiiumaa. It is an Orthodox church. Inside there is an iconostasis that dates to the very beginning of the 20th century. One aspect I'd like to highlight is the decoration of the two diagonal doors featuring images of archangels. Specifically, I'll be discussing one of these doors with the image of Saint Gabriel. I will refer to it as an icon, as it is no longer a door, no longer a part of the iconostasis. Nowadays, it has been registered as a freestanding museum piece in the Museum of Hiiumaa. In 2019, the state commissioned the Conservation and Digitization Center Canut in Tallinn to restore this Archangel Gabriel icon, which was in a dire condition. Let me tell you more about the icon. It was quite large, measuring 214 by 67 centimeters, with a base made of 3 centimeter thick wood boards. The oil painting was done on a white chalk glue ground coat, portraying Gabriel as a gentle figure draped in a beautiful pink and green robe. It arrived at our workshop in a large wooden box. The inside of the box was covered in thick dust from decaying and disintegrating wood, as well as the broken pieces of the paint layer. About 15% of the paint layer was missing, with visible cracks and unevenness in the remaining part. The golden nimbus and the angel's initials were also badly damaged, and the original varnish layer had darkened. To make matters worse, no undamaged wood had survived. With the wooden base becoming a porous, dusty mass held together by a thin crust of paint in front, and a thin layer of stronger wood at the back. The deformation of the object was irreversible. During the restoration process, we faced some challenges that were both time-consuming and difficult to overcome. Wood condition made the handling of the object very complicated. Preserving the original image was crucial, so we had to carefully consider our options. The traditional approach would have been to remove the damaged wood and replace it with new. But the damaged area was too big for this earlier practiced method, and that's why it was discussed whether the paint layer should be ripped and transferred to a new base, maybe a wooden base or even canvas base. After conducting several tests, we realized that this process was still too dangerous. The vibration would have been more harmful to the surface, causing crackling and possible breaking of the most important details of the painting. In fact, the angel's face, the robe and the breast, they all had preserved surprisingly well, so this risk was not justified. On this project, I worked together with a skilled wood conservator, Lillepruun. We came up with a rather innovative conservation method. We combined different materials and techniques to stabilize the wooden base and rebuild the decayed borders layer by layer. As much as I know, this method had not been used in Estonian conservation practice before, so I conducted research and testing to ensure its success. Through multiple material combination tests and several prepared replicas, we were able to identify the best components and proportions for reconstructing the borders of the icon. We are proud to say that this project was a great success. and we are excited to be pushing the boundaries of conservation in Estonia. Our project has been awarded the prestigious Best Conservation Project of the Year title by the Estonian Museum Association. We are incredibly proud of this achievement and grateful for the recognition of our work. So let me give you some close-ups on what was eventually done to the icon. To prepare the painting for restoration, I needed to cover it with a protective layer to prevent any further damage. So this was crucial to ensure that we could safely lift and turn the piece over. To do this, I used a Michelin paper fixed with storage glue. Then I was able to turn the icon over and clean the back. I used the brush and the vacuum cleaner to remove any loose dirt, followed by a solution of triammonium citrate and distilled water. I also carefully cleaned the porous borders of the piece to remove all the loose specks of wood. Acrylic polymer paralloid B72 was the best solution for the strengthening the extremely fragile wood. 5 and 10% solutions proved to be insufficient because it was impossible to get the solution inside the object. Syringes filled with the solution blocked up with dust as soon as the needle touched the wood. That is why I opted for a thicker 20% polymer solution. It made a good protective layer on the porous surface. When the backside and the edges of the icon were strengthened, it was safe to turn the icon around. To remove the varnish layer, the traditional ethanol turpentine mix worked very well. It effectively removed the varnish while leaving the paint layers untouched. I was extra cautious with the paint layer that had cracks and gaps in it. There was a big crack running from the upper edge down to the right shoulder of the angel, passing through the angel's face, actually. And when I touched the paint layer, it dipped, so I had to be careful when processing the risky gaps to ensure stability. I used the light paralloid solution to fill smaller gaps and cracks with syringe, but for the bigger under-surface gaps, the glue alone was not enough. I needed a special filling mass for those gaps. Well, the most exciting part of the conservation project was choosing the perfect filling material, not only to fill in those gaps, but to reconstruct the broken, once rectangular edges of the icon. We tested several materials, mixing and shaping them into cubes, and then letting them dry. To assess their quality, we sawed them into pieces, weighed them, twisted them by hand, and polished them with sandpaper. We wanted to make sure that the final material would not shrink, deform, or significantly change its color during the drying process. After much experimentation, we decided on a combination of pure cellulose fiber and white wood glue, tight bond original. This choice is not only non-toxic, but also convenient to work with, as any excess glue can be easily removed with water. To ensure the right consistency, we used distilled water and mixed wood glue with it in a ratio of 3 to 2. 3 parts of water and 2 parts of glue. The tests showed that this filling material adhered well to the wood, did not crack, break, or shrink, and was lighter in weight than the original wood. It can also be easily chiseled and polished, so we got confident that this choice was the perfect solution for our conservation idea. To restore the shape of the icon, we had to start by fixing the boundary line. We created a thin carcass, a wood frame that matched the original shape and size of the icon. Then, to reconstruct the borders, we first created a temporary floor. I actually sculpted it out of gray plasticine at the front of the icon. This floor helped set the filling properly to the level of the painting surface. We turned the icon over, face down, so that the plasticine layer became the lowest layer of the reconstructed borders. And I placed a piece of wrapping foil on the plasticine floor to prevent the filling from adhering to the plasticine. Then we began the layer-by-layer reconstruction of the borders. Now, this is supposed to be a small video. It took 5 to 8 layers of the filling material to reconstruct the uneven borders, with each layer requiring up to 7 days to dry properly. We used spatulas and brushes to handle the filling mixture, and the borders grew layer by layer, adhering to the original wood properly until the initial rectangular shape was restored. The last layer of filling was easy to polish once it had dried. Then we turned the icon over, face up, and removed the temporary plasticine floor. In the beginning, I told you that there were many loose paint layer pieces scattered in the box when the icon arrived. I carefully collected them all, and now it was the right time to reassemble them in their proper places on the front of the painting. To restore the losses in the paint, I first filled them with a primer. Since the area with losses was rather extensive, I decided to use a snow white finishing putty. This putty is not a traditional conservation product, but it's light, it's easy to handle, adheres well onto the base, dries fast, and can be polished. So it worked as a great primer for the newly reconstructed areas that are to be retouched. Thanks to old photos of the icon in the church, I was able to restore the missing details, such as the angel's wings, details of the flag, and the part of the background. I used watercolors, followed by Maimeri Restauro colors. Finally, the restored icon was coated with varnish. After the long-lasting restoration process, the icon was given the utmost care and attention in its storage and display. It was not meant to be returned to the church, but instead taken to the museum. The church and the museum agreed on that. The substitute door with the imitation of the original image was placed in the original iconostasis. Before sending the restored icon off to the museum, we decided to make a special frame for it to ensure its protection and support. Crafting this frame was no easy feat for my colleague Harle, as the icon's noticeable deformation required a custom fit. The frame and its supports were designed to precisely follow the convexities and slants of the icon's back. To ensure the icon was secured to the frame without damage, veneer slats were made and stained a suitable brown color. Cloth strips were placed on the inner side of the slats to protect the icon on its borders. In case the icon must be taken out of the frame, these slats can be easily removed. The finished frame not only provided full support for the icon, but also added an artistic element to its display. The two revolving loops were fixed to the upper edge of the frame, allowing it to be displayed on a wall. This incredible restoration work lasted a year and a half and resulted in a beautifully restored icon that can now be displayed with pride for years to come. As conservators, we had to think outside the box and come up with innovative solutions to get the job done, but our hard work had definitely paid off. Along the way, we also learned a lot about different materials that we don't normally use on a daily basis. This project showed us that even when faced with seemingly impossible challenges, anything is possible with the attitude of resourcefulness and a flexible approach. The recap of this icon restoration can be watched on the Conservation Center Kanut YouTube channel. The exact link is printed in the end of my article in the conference book. If any of you have ever reconstructed a wooden object using papier-mâché technique, please find me sometime after this session during the breaks. I would really love to hear about your experience. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Maria, for the wonderful speech. Does anyone have questions for Maria? No, then I ask myself. You said that we need to shake the Estonian conservation scene. Do you have something in mind, or are you still searching for the next big thing?
Fortunately, probably, such big challenges don't come often. So right now I'm working on the more conventional projects. I'm doing some frames and icons in a more traditional way. It's nice to do something really unusual once in a while, not very often. Thank you.
Thank you.